но за мен е удоволствие да представя останалите 4 автори. Ханан Хабаши, Сара Али. Сара Али е преподавателка и авторка, която по-настоящем живее в Англия, където току-що получи докторска степен по английска литература в Кеймбридж. Рауан Яги е редакторка на Рифаат бюлетин, за който може да се абонирате, публикуващ текстове от автори от Газа. Тя живее в Канада, където работи в различни медии. Мохамед Сулиман преподава медии и комуникации в университета Аделаида в Австралия, където получава докторска степен по социология през 2020 година. Изследванията му се фокусират върху антиколониалната мисъл и историята на отношенията между политическия ислям и световния ред. И Юсеф Алсамал е координатор за Газа на палестинската програма към American Friends Service Committee, беженец от беженския квартал Нусейрат в ивицата Газа. Той е доктор по социология от Института по близкоизточни изследвания в университета Сакаря в Турция. И един въвеждащ въпрос към нашите специални гости днес, преди да върна щафетата на Виктор и Огнян. И ще премина на английски. Switching to English now. Thank you so much for your patience. Sara, Rauan, Mohamed, and Yosef, welcome to Bulgaria, albeit virtually. Actually, by the way, the in-person event is taking place at iconic House of Cinema, which I hope you'll be able to visit one day. So our Bulgarian readers are about, the book is fresh from the printer, so our Bulgarian readers are really about to hold the book in their hands. But a book written by your younger selves back in Gaza. So could each of you tell us where you are calling from today and how do you reflect on Gaza rights back in light of the horrors that have been unfolding in Gaza over the last 19 months? And Sarah, would you like to start first?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I wrote the story in the book when I was 17, 18, so even like a few years before it was published. And I think my main reflection is, I mean, there are two things. First is the sad reality that stories have not been able to stop the slaughter. And I think we literature graduates and Rifat and a lot of us in this field, we love to think about the power of the written word. But people have been writing fiction, non-fiction, creative non-fiction, and it has not succeeded in ending the genocide. But at the same time, I think I realized, or I'm reflecting, that these stories need to be told nonetheless. And one thing I noticed during the genocide is a lot of my students in Gaza who have been writing mainly in English and who used to speak about the audience a lot and about telling our stories to the world and using English to tell our stories. They have stopped, some of them have stopped writing for a few months during the genocide because they lost hope and they lost faith in the solidarity movement or in its power to change anything, to stop the killing. And then they resumed. And a lot of them have been saying to me that we realized that we wanted to write for ourselves first and foremost, and to share these stories and document them for ourselves rather than for an audience as such. So a decade later, after Gaza Writes Back, I think these stories need to be told. How effective they are in reality, I don't know. And I mean, I know they have changed hearts. Millions of people around the world during the genocide have been influenced by words and by storytelling from Palestine, from Gaza in specific. So these stories need to be told. I think this is my main takeaway.
Thank you so much. And I'll just ask the next one that pops up on my screen, and this is Mohammed.
Thank you for the invite and for hosting the event. I haven't really got much to add to what Sarah mentioned about the effectiveness of Gaza Writes Back, but I think it's a project that was nonetheless essential, a project that Dr. Alarier firmly believed in, and this belief stemmed from his vision and his long-time conviction in storytelling and in the power of writing, in communicating and constructing a narrative and an identity of the people under oppression, and of giving them the voice that they need in order for them to be able to speak for themselves and represent themselves, given, we know the old tropes of Orientalism and racism around people from Palestine in particular, but of course from the broader so-called Middle East, and how they are generally seen from people outside the region as being particularly, not equally sort of human, in the sense that they find it difficult to relate their life experiences with the life experiences of people under occupation and from different historical, religious, and cultural backgrounds. So writing here comes in as a way to bridge those gaps and to portray a direct and transparent reality, no matter how challenging and how difficult it is for people who are not part of this reality to relate themselves. Writing is the only way to bridge those gaps and to sort of give people the voice and the power to represent themselves and speak for themselves.
Thank you. Rauan, why don't you go next?
Yeah, that's it's a really interesting question. So I think of writing as both a personal and a collective exercise, or a public exercise. So a lot of us write and we don't like to publish what we write. So we just write for ourselves. We write because there's something within us that needs to come out in words. It needs to take form outside of our feelings, outside of our maybe subconscious or whatever's going on in our brain. And then there's the public aspect of writing where we are talking to someone else. And here I've been thinking a lot of Primo Levi's writings, and in one of his essays, Primo Levi is a survivor of Auschwitz, who documented his experience while he was in the concentration camps. And after that as well, he wrote a lot reflecting on his experience and his writing experience as well. And he talks about how a lot of concentration camp prisoners used to have dreams about telling their stories to their families, telling what they were going through to their families. And the nightmare is that nobody believed them. So there's something in us humans when we go through something that is so horrific. It's just the simple act of telling somebody else about it that gives us power, and it makes it more, it doesn't make it more real, but other people have to know what is happening. And there's that urgency, there's that, the accountability that comes after, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact that psychologically, while you're going through it, the fear that nobody's going to believe you is there is part of that writing exercise. I think Gaza Writes Back is fiction, but I think something Rifat used to say a lot is that reality is stranger than fiction. That what is going on now is even more horrific and more, I don't know how to describe it, but it's part of the occupation, part of the mentality of creating a concentration camp or creating an open air prison. And part of the genocide is that you want to erase the story. You're doing things that are so horrific because you don't want anyone else to believe it. And I think there's a lot of power in writing through that lens. Yes, it's not going to stop the bombs. Our bodies are not going to stop the bombs. And right now, nothing is stopping the bombs. But I think through how we relate to each other as human beings, it has incredible power. So.
Oh, thank you, Rauan. Yusuf, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Rifat begins his introduction to Gaza Writes Back by quoting an African proverb that says, "Until lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter." And based on like the stories and the discussions many of us had with Rifat, he saw in Gaza Writes Back as a way to respond to Israel, to the Israeli narrative, similar to the Empire Writes Back. And when he wanted to translate the title of the book into Arabic, he always chose resist with writing. So he saw the book as a way, as a form of resistance in writing to Israel's narrative. He chose fiction over nonfiction because so many of these stories are deeply rooted in reality. Sarah's story, Rawan's story, my story, Muhammad's, and others. But he believed that nonfiction, fiction outlives nonfiction, meaning that it could be read 100 years later. It could be turned into movies. It could become a lot of things. It could be read by people regardless of their background, where they come from, their ages. So it transcends the boundaries of politics, ideology. And he was right. He was totally right. And he also saw in writing as a form of healing. At some point, prior to the genocide in Gaza, I felt that writing could be a form of healing. But now, everyone is entitled to their opinion. We were completely numb. We lost this feeling that writing could heal or could change people. It doesn't mean that we will stop writing. No, we will continue writing. But this feeling of, like our writings, our words are going to bring about change. Even if you look at Rifat's chapter to Light in Gaza in 2022, titled "Shall This Pass?" Rifat was not very much optimistic that his writings will bring about change. And I think this is a human feeling. It's normal. It's the way we feel about it, the way we're positive or negative about it, is very normal. Um, doesn't mean that we will stop writing, especially that when the story now is the storyteller, and I mean Rifat here. Um, Looking at his poem and what he wanted us to do in our lives, we will continue writing. We feel desperate. Our families are being killed and massacred. This is, as I said, a normal human feeling. We will continue writing. I have less hope now that these words, these writings will change people's hearts and minds. There is a global change vis-a-vis Palestine, but the cost of that, the price of that is our people, a genocide taking place back home. So we will continue writing, and hopefully our feelings about changing the world will get better. Like we could change the world, hopefully these through these stories and writings, and for sure we will continue to tell the story of Rifat, who taught us the importance of storytelling and writing. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you, and for this super, very heartfelt but incisive responses. And I guess we are all sorry that about everything that is happening to your people. I will turn it over back to the floor now.